bug, look at the master view controller class, the .env file, the implementation of view did load. We're setting the text field to nil, and I think that is a big problem. We should not set it to nil every time. So just remove that and it'll work. Also, you'll have to fix the orientations and all that stuff. We can fix it along the way as we go. Now we're going to look into how to add an edit button. Now, the edit buttons are usually buttons that go at the top of a list, and when you click on edit, then all the rows display like a little icon that tells you that they're in edit mode, and the button changes to done. So you push the same button when you're done. And then everything's done. You would have to code all of these transitions and name changings of the buttons. But there's an easier alternative, which is any master view controller. It's going to give you, for free, an edit button item. Okay? So what we can actually do is go to the view did load method, and you'll see what happens. The view did load method on my master view controller.m class. View did load, here where we filled up the data and everything. And we'll just add here, we'll just add a line, with self. We're gonna call the navigation item, and we're going to say, hey, you have a load button already there, so please put it where I can see it. So we're going to see it, self navigation item. Come on, help. There you go. Sorry about the slowness. The navigation item is the navigation bar that comes with any master view controller, and because I'm working on a master view controller, I can say self, and then I call the navigation item, and then the navigation item I'm gonna set the left bar button item. Okay, that's to self edit button item. These are all things that come for free with a navigation controller. There's also something for the add button that can add an add button there as well, but we're not going to go there. Anyways, that's on the slides, by the way. Okay, so you have the edit button item. Now we have an edit button item that does a lot of things for us. So if we run this, it might take a little while. We can see everything that this button item is going to do for us. I'm going to put the iPad simulator here, and we're going to wait for it to start. When editing data, we're going to do a few different things. When you want to edit data, you want to indicate which row you're editing. You also want to add code to handle the selection of the item. And now you see that. And if I click on any of these items and then say edit, see the button text changed to done, and then there were little icons here that when I click them it says delete. So this edit at least allows all the infrastructure to delete. So there's a few things we have to do. We have to put a little widget there that indicates editing, okay? And we have to, once you click done, this changes to edit, and we have to actually implement the editing itself with a new window popping up and asking, hey, what do you want to change this name to? Okay, and that's what we're going to do next. Okay, so the little button that indicates editing is called a detail disclosure button. Okay, that's what it's called in Apple lingo, and it's an accessory type. Okay, so let's look at this. So when we're creating each cell, okay, so each cell, we're creating each cell, which happens here in the cell for row at index path method. Okay, when we're creating each cell, at the end of the creation of each cell, we're going to we're going to say, hey, not at the end, but before we set the label, right after, right after we got the cell. Remember, if it came from the stack, we got it there. If it was null, we created it. No matter how we got it, okay, what we're going to say is this cell, we're going to set editing accessory type. Okay, set editing accessory type. And the accessory type for editing, namely the button that's going to be displayed or the widget that's going to be displayed, it's going to be a UI table view cell accessory disclosure button. Okay? Names are really long, but that's the nature of Objective-C. So we're going to set that now. Now we're going to see something that's a little more complete. We're going to actually, if we run this, we're actually going to see a something editing there. So let's see that. Let's take a look. And widget here that does nothing. But now we have this guy, and we're going to click on this guy to actually edit the rows. Okay? That's what we have. We added an extra button here for editing. Alright. So let's see. Now, what we need to implement is an action for when this little button is tapped. Okay? And this is part of the UI table view delegate. Okay? Now, we will also need an index path in the name editor view controller. You'll see why in a second. Okay, but I'm just going to go ahead and create that in the name editor view controller. At some point, I will need to know not only what's the text of this new thing, but what's the index path of this new this edited row, because then I'm going to call back the master view controller with the index path of the row to edit, so it knows which row to replace. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this here. I'm going to create a new property. Okay, property strong non-atomic. Your properties are okay if they're always strong non-atomic. It's going to be an index path. Okay, which is that's what the you could have had an integer and just pass the number of the row, but index path is good. We'll just access the row part of the index path. Index path. Then we'll synthesize it, because that's what we do with properties. Here in the .m file, synthesize index path equals index path. So we have that's done. Now I'm going to go back to the master view controller now, and when I click that little edit button, I'm going to make the modal window show up, just like I did with the process for adding a new row when I did that. So we're going to have to implement a method in the UI table view delegate, which is the method accessory button tapped for row with index. So we'll do that. So where's the UI table view delegate? It's right here. I can see that because I have a pragma mark here. So let's do this. We're going to do, this is void table view. If you do table view colon, you'll have table view, you'll have, oh come on, table view, you'll have all the delegate methods. So we're going to look for accessory button tapped. Accessory button tapped for row with index path. That's exactly what we want. So somebody tapping the accessory button at a certain on a certain row and a certain index path. Okay, that's what we want. And what we're going to do here is we're going to say we're going to create a name editor view controller. Name editor view controller. So we're going to open a window. This is very similar to the code we use when adding a new row. The code we use to open the new window. So we call it new controller, okay, and that's going to be a name editor view controller log and init with nib name. And what was the nib name here? I'm just going to go and check it out from the add method. Oh, name editor view controller. That's what it was. Okay, so going back. Whoops, not there. Wrong place. Here. Okay, init with nib name editor view controller, bundle nil. At this point, we don't have persistence here, so no bundle. Close this thing, and semicolon. Okay, so we've created a new controller. Now we need to tell it to show up, but we also need to pass it what index path is the one that we're talking about. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to say new controller, set delegate myself, new controller. That's because we want to be the delegates. The master view controller wants to be the delegate of this little window. Set editing, yes, this is going to be editing. New controller, set index path, and this is set index path. This index path, right? So we're going to say, hey, new controller, the row that I'm calling is the actual row that for which the accessory button was tapped. Then I'm going to create a name, string. This is the name of the category, right? And this is self data object at index index path row. Oops, index path capital P. Self data index path row. Whoa, what happened? What was that? Okay, oops, I'm sorry. Sorry, I got you dizzy here. We're going to, where am I? Okay. All right, I'm sorry. Index path row, right? So I'm gonna create. My name is basically gonna be my data at that row, the name of the category at that row, and then I'm gonna say new controller. What was the text? The text field in the new controller. We have to. Come on. What is going on? New controller. No, it's not that. It was text. Text field name. Okay. New controller text field name. Set text, and we're going to set it to name. Okay. New controller set text to name, because we're going to put the name of this category by default in the main editing window. Then we're gonna start showing up the new controller. New controller, set model presentation style, and it's the UI model presentation style form sheet, so it'll appear as a new window. And then we're gonna say we're gonna actually show this guy self present model view controller. New controller, animate the presentation, of course, you want that, and that's good. Now, so in theory, we've created something that will open up this window for editing. Okay? Now, the other thing that we need to do is, let's assume this happens now. The other thing we need to do is the name editor view controller did finish, which was the one that we used when we clicked done on that window. Now we need to support editing. And that is in the delegate, okay, the name editor view controller delegate. So this is the beauty of this, is we barely modify our little window, we just modify the delegate methods. So in here, in the name editor view controller did finish, because that's when you click done, We're going to say if new category length is greater than 0, then we're going to add a few things. Then we're going to say if it's in edit mode, so if controller is editing, which is something that comes for free with view controllers, is editing. Alright. Oh no, we had an edit mode. Okay. If the view controller is editing, then what we're going to do is we're going to do this data and then replace object at index. And what index? This will be now the controllers. The controller, and then the index path of the controller that I just created. So whatever index path I gave it, it's the data that I need to replace, the row part of it, right? And I need to do it here. There you go. Next row. With object, new category. With object, new cat. Alright, so I'm going to replace that. Else, else, I'm just going to add the object, new cat, okay? And then I'll reload the data. Okay? So if I'm editing, then this happens. I replace the object at whatever index path I gave it with a new category. Else, I'm just going to add it. Okay? Now, the last thing that we are still forgetting is that in the name editor view controller, the text field name is initialized every time the view is loaded. We don't want that. We actually want to have it stay there, not have to initialize to nil all the time. So we will need another property to be in the name editor view controller, which is going to be a placeholder for the string for the category that should go into this text field. Okay? So I'm going to create it. I'm going to go to the name editor view controller, and I'm going to create a property that's going to call, I don't know, default name text. We'll just call it that. So property atomic copy, another style, and a string default name text. We'll synthesize it in our .m file. Synthesize default name text equals default name text. No, default name text. There you go. We've synthesized it, and now we'll tell the view controller that we want this default if we are editing. So we go to the view did load. So every time this loads, okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to say if I am in edit mode. So if this is editing, okay, what's going to happen is that the name text field, name text field name text is going to be self default name text. Okay, I use dot notation and the other notation interchangeably. That might not be the best practice, but just so you get used to that. And now, because the text field name sets itself automatically. If I'm in editing mode, I need to go back to my view controller, to the place where I was actually setting it, to the place where I was actually setting this. Let me see where that was. That's in the name editor view controller. Did finish? No, that's when I opened the window. Accessory button tapped. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to set the text field name directly. Okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to set default text name. I'm going to set the property default name text to this name, okay? Because now every time the window loads, if the default text name has a name and I am in editing mode, then the text field is going to be populated automatically with that. And then we run it and test it. and see that we actually did something cool. Next video, I'll show you how to delete a row, which is super easy, but I'm running out of time. And that will conclude these this set of master view application videos. So you should be able to see this very shortly. It's all there. We just need to code an action when you click on that delete button. That shows up automatically. That's all. Everything else is very simple. And be executing the simulator, okay, just to see what the changes are actually doing. So, okay, so I'm gonna edit artistic. Edit. Oh, sorry. Edit mode puts the list in edit mode. I'm gonna click here, and the new window it's gonna come up because it's we haven't fixed the orientation. It still comes up like that. But anyways, artistic is there, right? So I'm gonna change it to artistico. Okay, and then I'm gonna say done. It still says item. That's not good. Then I'll rotate this, and we see that it changed the name to artistico. Then I'm gonna click done, and then it's changed to artistico. Now, for deleting, we're gonna, when you click there, there's a delete button. We're just gonna enable this delete button to actually delete this index row, and we're gonna look at another way of refreshing the screen. That's all. That's it for now.